Of course, what is Wednesdays without game changers? A bit of inspiration. Now, I have a quick question for you. Where were you back in 1998? As you're trying to think about that, let me give you a timeline of how far this was. This is when Google was founded back in 1998. And for those who are a big fan of pop culture, you might remember this is when also Victoria and David Beckham decided to walk down the aisle and say, I do. That's how far 1998 was. Oh, Celine Dion's song, will go on. That's when it debuted at #1. So that just gives you a big reason or a feel of how far 1998 was. And at this specific time, Wilson Kinyua, who is now a lawyer, will soon be graduating with his law degree, was jailed at the age of only 19. And he's here with us to share his story. I can't wait for you to hear about it. Wilson, it's so good to have you with us here in studio.
Thank you, Cindy.
So here you are,
yes.
1998. At only the age of 19, you were arrested.
Yes.
Take me back to then. What did you do, or what was it that you were convicted for?
Zinzi, like you said, I'd just completed my Form 4 education, 19 years old. Mm-hmm. And I came to Nairobi and joined Strathmore College. I wanted to do CPA. Right. And one morning, when I was walking down to catch the college bus at one of the pickup points, suddenly there was crossfire between cops and gangsters, and 3 people were injured in the process. The 3 people who were injured, we were all handcuffed and taken to Kenyatta National Hospital for treatment, and then we already suspects. The fact that we are on chains, we already suspects. But public in Western started protesting, saying, no, those are not criminals. At least we know 2 of those guys. And the government, the police had to give in because the pressure was piling, because those guys were actually not criminals. They were taxi drivers who operated from that area, and the public knew them. So the police gave up and released the 2 guys. But I was the only person who was unknown there. And Nairobi was, so to say, you know, a virgin territory for me, having been a country boy. And I just come to Nairobi. Nobody knew me. So I was easily branded suspect and taken through to court. Was your case ever heard? Were you given a chance to hear, for the judges to hear your side of the story? Do you believe you were wrongfully convicted? Now, that is where the details are. I was taken through. First of all, I'm not represented. Right. This is the first time I'm appearing in court. I'm told, if we find you guilty, you'll be sentenced to death. And you are not represented. I'd never been in the hands of police, let alone appearing in court. And the whole setup is very, very intimidating. I cannot even express myself. Like now I'm speaking. That time I could not even speak. You know the naivety of somebody who is coming from school and had never, and I'm telling you this the first time I'm coming to Nairobi and all that. So I cannot even express myself. So that is the process through which I was processed through. And the moment you lose the case in the law court, that is where the foundation of the case is laid. There is very little that you are going to do to salvage your case. So I lost all the appeals, and I was sentenced to death, and I lost all the appeals. And sentenced to death in Kenya just means life in prison? No, 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 no. That time it was sentenced. When you are sentenced to death means you are supposed to be executed. Right. You cannot take that as a joke. The law is there, and the president may wake up one day and say, let's do it. So the law is there. It is death sentence. So the moment you lose all the appeals, you are taken to a room next to the gallows, and that's where you stay. I stayed in that room for 10 years. That 2009, that's when the former president came and said, now I'm commuting death penalty to life sentence. So that is when we were removed there and taken to life. Now to serve the rest of our life in prison. And that's the time you now may go with other inmates. You can join the technical courses that are there, and you can do all that. Not that you expect to be released. That is just to be, you're given that window of hope that you could get that. But the law is clear. It is a life sentence. Life means life. Did you ever think, or did you ever see a point in time where freedom would have been granted to you? What do you say?
Did you ever see a time in your life after you've only 19 years old, here you are, and you've already served a 10 years so far? Did you ever think that you'll ever get out? Did you have hope?
No. When I was released from death penalty, my sentence was commuted to life sentence. That's when you are told, just engage in any activity here that might rehabilitate you, and then that might be considered by the power of mercy. By then it wasn't power of mercy, came later, it was a review board. Power of mercy, then you can be given an opportunity. You perhaps may be recommended, but you are not given a guarantee that is going to happen. You know, there are people who have been released while you are still there, so it doesn't guarantee you, and there are no parameters that say if you achieve this, you have to be released. They are not there. You know, it is mercy, and mercy means that if the eye of mercy catches you, then you are lucky. It doesn't, you're going to stay there. We've been having people who have spent over 27 or 30 years there. Doesn't mean they are not rehabilitated. They are properly rehabilitated. But the power of mercy has not caught their eye. They have not caught the eyes of the power of mercy.
So where were your parents at this time, your family? When they had the news, what happened? Did they try and come from your rural village to Nairobi and see if they could try and help you? What was happening at that time to you?
There's nothing they could have done. There's nothing they could have done. Why I'm saying this? First of all, the process that I've gone through, after 10 years, and I went to life sentence, and I have served another 10 years in life sentence, and that is just the whole picture of my life. That's the whole picture of my life. But the devil is in the details. The detail is the process with which I was taken through the court. I have, for the 21 years, I have reaped both ends of extreme. When the judicially presented the worst injustices to the people who appeared in court, and at least to the present, when we have hope, because there is significant level of confidence the judicially, and there is order today. In the prisons, the worst moment when violations to the inmates were done, those are the times. That is unlike today, when we have significant level of human rights observance and there is rehabilitation. At least you can see somebody who has clearly gone through rehabilitation. So I've reaped those two. So what I'm saying, when I was being processed through the court, those were the times when you could walk into the court with money, and even if you are guilty, you'll still walk home even if you are guilty because you have money. If you don't have money, you'll go to prison even if you don't have money. Those were the time. 1998, before the Ringela Commission, was the highest peak of judicial degeneration. And this is not about the decision of Ringela. It is our experience with the judicial officers. That is the truth.
Did your family ever come to visit?
Yes, but my background was not interesting. So that is what I'm saying. There is a retro they could have done. They cannot even hire a lawyer for me. So therefore, they cannot even help me to buy justice. So I could not buy justice, I could not hire a lawyer. So there's nothing I could have done. So 10 years, my mom actually contracted a depression-related diseases. And in 2014, I lost her while in prison.
Right.
Yes.
Take me, what was a day-to-day like in prison? What time did you
Today, like I've told you. In fact, yes, I'm excited about my freedom 60 days ago. But the peak of my excitement is in seeing prison yield to my long-time dream for a facility that can produce tangible transformation of offenders today, and some level of observance of human rights and dignity inside prison. That today we can experience. My judicially also yielding to my long-time dream that it should not only be an impartial arbiter, but facilitate justice. And that is what has happened when I was doing the case that has overturned mandatory death penalty in the Republic of Kenya. And that is where we started seeing judiciary now giving us a latitude to explain what is unfair with our laws.
All right. Now, before even we come to the mandatory death penalty, which is successfully overturned, you are here in prison.
Yes.
When did you start your law degree? And what made you decide that, you know what, even though I'm here in jail, I'm still going to study this?
Zinzi, I've given you my background. And the moment, okay, with my not very good education, a form for education. In prison is a community that is overwhelmed with people who are poor and illiterate. So my form for education was a big education there. And therefore, I used to help inmates there do some kind of court records and all that. Yeah? And that is where an organization called African Prison Project, under the directorship of one judicial officer, Alexander McCrane from UK, noticed my effort and asked me whether I would like to do law. And he told me, I'm going to try with a diploma. So I did a diploma and completed 2014, 2015, I completed a diploma. Then he told me that I'm studying for a degree program. And that's when I started that, which I am graduating this year on October. On October.
Yes. You're excited?
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
And while you were still in prison, you represented not only yourself, but 11 other inmates successfully.
Yes. We went to court. In that case, we launched that case in 2010, challenging mandatory death penalty in the Republic of Kenya. We lost in the High Court, but we were not deterred. We went to the Court of Appeal and we won the first round. That case was limited back to the High Court, where we were now given a substantive hearing before a 3-judge bench, constitutional bench. The decision was made in 2016. So by that time, I had already gone into law school. And we had lost like 4 lawyers who are saying this case is not doable. It's an impractical because the law is clear. It is mandatory. So how are you going to argue this one? Again, we had been preceded by a decision in the Supreme Court, in the Court of Appeal, of 5 judges who said mandatory death sentence is constitutional. How do you go over that handle? It was not hit, but somehow we were able to convince judges. The inadvertency was on the side of the petitioner. The petitioner has the duty to present their case and make it clear before the judges. And we were ready to do that. And we demonstrated to them how our case is different. And that is how we succeeded before the 3 judges, and they declared mandatory death penalty unconstitutional. And not only that, they sanctioned the AG to constitute a task force to ensure all the other inmates in the Republic of Kenya, and that we are talking about 8,000 inmates who are affected by that, to go back to the court and get their sentences done again, done afresh.
I'm sure it was not an easy...
Yes, and 1 year later, the Supreme Court pronounced that judgment in the case of Murwatetu, giving a rubber stamp to the authority that was done by the High Court, because that is where the law was generated, and the Supreme Court gave it a rubber stamp of authority, that should be the case. And the phenomenon in prison that actually motivated us to do that is the fact that I came into prison at 19 years old. And as I left prison, I continued receiving even younger boys than myself, up to as younger as 16, 17. And by the way, those are minors. They are not even supposed to be in main prison.
They were in the main prison.
But they were coming in main prison with cases of robbery. But then what attracted me most is the content of that robbery. What is it that they did? Snatching of mobile phones. Zinzi, it is about a packet of chips and sausages. There are people who are sentenced to death because of that. Why? Because we are looking the law mechanically, the way it is written. Are the ingredients okay? We're not interested with the gravity of the offense.
So it's one thing to study law, Wilson. It's another thing to study law while you're in prison. How tough was it?
It is tough because, first of all, there is congestion, although currently it has been eased because of making industrial area the remand prison. So we have few remands in committee. At least it is not much. But of course, you were staying with other inmates there who want to see TV, who want to talk stories and all that. And that is where you want to do your studies.
And how was the study session like? Did you have teachers come? Were you teaching yourself? Did you have online classes?
The African Prison Project have actually employed lecturers who are lawyers, and they have done masters. Others are doing PhD. So we have qualified teachers, qualified law teachers in prison who are coming to teach us there. So employed by that organization. So when I wake up in the morning, take my breakfast, I go to the class. So that's where I meet my lecturers. I'll stay there, do my stuff there.
Do you feel as if the system robbed you of your youth, of your life at 19 and 21 years later? That's when you're released, just 60 days ago. Do you feel as if the system robbed you of your...
Definitely. I'm happy and I'm excited that I've come out of prison with my law degree. But 21 years really is not worth that. 21 years is too much.
Is the government compensating you?
For what? I was not released because I was innocent. I was released because we challenged mandatory death penalty and wait for a sentence. We were not challenging conviction. We were not challenging conviction. And by the way, I'm not here to give my story so that people, to tell people I'm innocent. I don't want you to believe that I'm innocent. Today, I'm looking at the bigger picture. Why I'm saying that? Or perhaps let me say this. If you picture the manner I've told you I was processed through, the time when there was corruption, the time when you were not given a lawyer and all that, you know, and my computer tutor told me garbage in, garbage out. Would you still believe that I'm guilty just because the mechanic of the law has been applied and you've gone through the legal system? That is not the case. And that is why the initiative I'm coming up with is to help us to tighten the security that is embodied in the due process. So that at the end, we have somebody who goes to prison who is actually guilty. Right?
Wilson, if you were to turn back the hands of time, would you do things differently? Would you choose not to come to Nairobi? Would you have chosen not to be there that day?
How would you know that? You know, things happen like accident. How would you choose where to be and you don't know what is going to happen? You don't know. You know, perhaps when I go there with the knowledge I have, I would choose to do law. But that time I went to do accountancy, but I would have chosen to do law. Because I've realized this is an area I would be able to help so many people. Yeah.
All right.
And be able to reform our criminal justice that has been deregulated by our legislatures, policy, at the policy level, because perhaps those who are affected by criminal justice and Chief Justice recently considered that our law and our criminal laws mostly punish the poor.
All right, let's take a breather. We want to take a commercial break. You're watching Game Changers. So at 19 years old, he's been jailed 21 years. He was just released 60 days ago. When we come back, we'll talk to Wilson about how he plans to use his degree to help other innocent Kenyans, right? Wilson, let's get back to our conversation.
Yes, please.
I'm already getting a lot of proper feedback about your story. It's quite inspiring. So then one might ask, what is it, at that point when you were in jail, spiritually speaking now, were you mad at God?
Really, at first I was very mad at God. I didn't even believe there is God. How would God allow somebody to go through that kind of a thing? You know, until it came a time and when I started seeing people, a lot of people suffering like me and all that, and we decided this is a bigger problem. Yeah, it's not about me. And now I started thinking beyond that. And that's when I went through church and all that inside, reasoning to preachers who are coming, chaplaincy, there is chaplaincy in prison and all that. And I got saved and I started now going to church and following God. He had a purpose for my life.
Well, I consider your life successful.
Yeah.
So who does someone like Wilson, who has gone through life, but has decided to turn, you know, lemons into lemonade, who do you look up to? Or rather, who motivates you? I know what motivates you is your story, the what, but is there someone else you look up to?
Yes, there are several people who motivate me. First of all, I'm motivated by the CS for security, Matiang'i, also Nuruddin Haji, and the Chief Justice. Those are characters that are envy in my life, the way they are working. And that's why when I was coming up with this initiative, I could see people who can be able to embrace the initiative I'm coming with. You know, who can be able to listen to the exclusive information that we have that can help them streamline their areas of working, because we're talking about the criminal justice system. And the ultimate goal is to ensure we apprehend violence and insecurity. And we have more effective ways we can be able. They just have to give us a loom to air our views, to come and listen to our dialogue. The dialogue, the table of dialogue we are creating is to be able to partner with them and suggest those effective methods having gone through the system.
Right. And speaking of going through the system, the criminal justice dialogue, that's what you have decided to open. It's an institution that you personally decided to open?
Yes, it is.
What does it do, or what will it be doing?
Just like I've said, because of my experience, personal experience, and the experience of all those people we've gone through, we have exclusive information that perhaps even the CS knows that something is when it is not, or he knows it is not when it is. You know, those are the contents that are exclusive information that we need to talk to. I don't have even to come here and talk about them, all of them, because our work in that dialogue table is not to antagonize the work of judicial officers or any other person or the prison officers. It is not, but to help them to be able to take us to another level. Today, we are talking of a phenomenal initiative that was started by the Senior Deputy Commissioner, Madam Waneni Keredi, the open door policy. And I'm a beneficiary of that. I'm very thankful about that. But my issue is we must take it now beyond that. You know, not all inmates will go through the legal system, because I've been assisted by a charitable organization that have come into prison because of the open door policy. Right? If that organization were to withdraw today, God forbid, now where is the Wilson of tomorrow? Will government come in and fill that gap? Today, we are not talking of prisons in our constitution. We are talking of correctional facilities. Now, that means that government has a constitutional duty to give prisons that real name of correctional facilities. So with or without charitable organization, government must finance the rehabilitation of inmates, all of them. Now, how do we do it? I'm not saying it is not happening. I'm saying we must take it to another level. Do they have legal infrastructure allowing them to invest money on inmates? And what kind of investment? Are they standard? Let me tell you, when I left prison, I was not given 50 shillings.
I was coming to that.
Even 50 shillings.
Yes.
So I'm saying, take somebody through that rehabilitation. He know how to make shoes, design clothes and all that. And then at the gate, you leave him the way he is. Where do you expect him to go? The day I left prison, actually, because I told you I represented 12 inmates, and 6 of them were released that day with me. The other 6 got their sentence reduced from life to 5 years. Now, 2 of the guys that I was released with had a problem that day, and had to call back to prison and tell them, how do we help these people? You know, what they did, they told me, no, you know, the moment we release somebody from the gate, our work is done.
Have you ever
That is what they told me. I had to tell my brother, please, let us help these people. Let us find an accommodation for these guys. Then tomorrow, they'll go to their up country and all that. But they had a bigger problem than that.
Right. But have you ever gone back to prison since the 60 days of release?
No, I haven't gone there.
You haven't gone back.
I haven't gone back.
Then perhaps my last question is, because we need to wind up now.
Yes.
Here you are. You're a free man. What is it that perhaps you have found different now in 2019 that probably has caught your attention, a phenomenal aspect that was... And because I began by talking about how back in 1998, you know, that's when Google was founded. Today, when you've just gotten your freedom 60 days ago, what is it that you have come back outside in this world to find that probably wasn't there and that got your attention?
Yeah, the first thing is technology. I had to get somebody to teach me how to use my phone. Those are first things. The estates have come up. I'm losing my ways.
Estates.
Where I want to go, yeah, estates have come up so much. And like the other day, I was going to an invitation somewhere, and as I was walking through the streets of Nairobi, somebody beckoned me. She was already actually, and she told me, "Can I do your shoes?" What? Like, I didn't leave these. That ladies are doing shoe shining in town, and this is phenomenal. And you know, ladies are not shoes. That's a huge encouragement that you are not choosing any job and you can do, and there's no boundary between men and women jobs and all that.
So those were some of the things.
Are some of the stuff, yeah. And I was encouraged. I mean, I liked the way she did my shoe, and yeah, those are some of the good things. Yeah.
Let's talk about lastly about family. Was your family excited after you finally got released? Have you had a chance to see them?
Yes,
to talk
very
to
much.
Them?
Very much. They were in court that day I was released, and they went with me in prison. I spent another day in prison before they process all their whatever to release me. And my family could not live there. They had to wait. Even the following day, we left prison. By midnight, that is when they were still at the gate waiting for me. And I went with them. So I'm accommodated at my brother's place. That's where I'm staying.
What's your word of advice, lastly, to people who have gone through the same strides as you have? Some who believe they were innocently convicted. The system robbed them of their youthful years. What's your advice to them?
First of all is to youths. Crime is bad. Crime can destroy your life completely. So stop this nonsense of thinking that you can make your life through what you have not earned. It is not good. It's not going to help you. And I'll be coming to schools. I'll be coming to institutions. I've already gone to some of the youth groups to speak to them about that. We must start there. Then we must come to our institutions, and I'm saying we must get it right. Lastly, allow me to say this one, because there is a case that was aired here on Citizen TV by Lulu Hassan about Julius Wabua. I started handling that case in 2017, and that's why I'm saying the institutions, let us tighten the security that is embodied in the criminal justice system so that only those people who go to prison are actually guilty. And those who go to prison, let us ensure when they leave prison, the public is not worried whether they are going back, cannot fear those people that they might relapse back to their criminal habits. We must get it right again in the judiciary, in the prison. That is why we are offering this table of dialogue. Let us negotiate. Honorable Matiang'i, I know your style of working, you are result-oriented, you are humble, you can listen to what I'm saying. I know this is an appeal of audience that we can speak and be able to suggest what we feel is very effective in handling the rehabilitation in prison.
All right, thank you.
I also let me also make the same appeal to the Chief Justice. There are sitting issues that I can't speak here. We need to see how we can be able to make sure that access to justice is effective and people are not crying.
And indeed, I hope that they are watching and they have listened. Unfortunately, our time is up, but thank you so much, Wilson, and congratulations on your upcoming graduation. It's in October.
Yes, but I also need to appeal to people to support this initiative.
Yes.
Criminal Justice Dialogue. Support this initiative, and so that we have a fixed place of address, correspondence that you can be able to reach me through. Unless you allow me to say I think the number or something.
No, that will be it, but we will share definitely those things. Thank you so much, Wilson, for coming and sharing your story, and also for the work that you're doing. That is none other than Wilson Kinyua, and he'll be graduating on October officially as a lawyer. You could tell from his depth of his voice and how passionate he is about getting the legal system right here in Kenya. All right, we want to take a commercial break. You're watching Citizen TV. That has been Game Changers for today. I hope you're feeling rather inspired, and it's never too late to do anything. At only 19, 21 years later, is now a lawyer. We want to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. When we do come back, within our